I get a job at Crown Castle as a contractor, meaning a temporary employee. My role was a tower structural analyst, TSA. Well, first let me explain what Crown Castle is. So they're a real estate investment trust. They own over 40,000 towers in the U.S. And they own the land on a lot of these sites, not all of them. So anytime one of the carriers, T-Mobile, Verizon, Sprint, or AT&T, wanted to swap out one of their antennas, it would have to come through our department, assets. And a TSA would analyze the application, make sure everything was going to fit on the tower and on the compound, in the compound. And a lot of the job was looking at photos that were taken by our field personnel and matching the equipment in the photos to the equipment in our database and updating the database for the antennas and the RRUs, the radio units, and the feed lines and the mounts. Since I had an engineering degree, after 3 months of doing that, I became a structural TSA, which now you do that as well, but then you also focus more on the structural analysis and the modification designs if there's going to be too much loading, the tower fails. So it's a very technical position, but it was a lot easier for me than actually doing engineering calculations. So we would order the engineering calculations from vendors. So after a while, I could do the job with my eyes closed. And I got hired with 2 other people. We all started on the same day, 2 other contractors. And after maybe only 8 months or 9 months, they both got hired on full time, and I didn't. So it wasn't looking that great. But my production numbers were higher than theirs. So it didn't really make sense to me at the time. But then that manager who oversaw us left, and a new manager came on. And after a couple months after that, I got hired on full time. And it was a great job, especially in the beginning. I really learned so much. I really appreciated and enjoyed working with everybody in the office, especially the other TSAs. And it was fun. And in the old office, there was a foosball table and a ping pong table, and we would play quite often. And there was free breakfast on Fridays, free food all the time. So it was great. So when I first started there, I was still living at my dad's house in North Phoenix, about Carefree, I-17 and Carefree Highway area. And I would have to drive from there to the Crown office, which was by Wild Horse Pass Casino in Chandler. So about an hour drive every day. So after saving up a little bit, I start texting my ex again. And we decide we miss each other. And I really miss the dogs, mainly. So she's like, if you get a spot for us and a yard for the dogs, I'll come back and live with you. So I rented a house in Chandler. Rent was $11.50 per month back then. And got the house with a yard. It had grass in the front, grass in the back, and citrus trees. And I would have bought, but I didn't have enough money for a down payment. And I had no one that was willing to help me out with a down payment. So I had to rent. So I rented houses for about 7 years before I finally could buy a house. When I first moved into that house, I was living paycheck to paycheck. So I got a job refereeing flag football on Saturdays for some additional income. Then my friend needed a place to live, and I said he could move in with me, and I charged him $500 a month, just less than half of the rent. No utilities. So now I had, 3 income streams. And then eventually my ex came back, so he moved out. I didn't make her pay rent, any utilities, or internet. And I felt like the man of the house because I was paying all the bills. The only thing she had to pay for was her own personal car insurance and whatever clothes and personal things she wanted. But I was paying for all the household expenses. So I didn't have that many options back then. Crown already wasn't putting me on the track and the pace that I thought I should be on due to my performance and the education that I had just gotten. A lot of other people there didn't have civil engineering degrees and didn't have master's degrees, and they were getting promoted to project managers and asset managers. And I even trained this guy as a TSA, and then eventually they made him my manager, a guy I trained. So they were really trying to break me. They put me through 7 managers, and they were just really showing me that they wanted to make it extra difficult for me while they were going to favor other people. And it was really hard to deal with, but it still was the best job I could get. I was able to do the job with my eyes closed. It was that easy for me after a while. So I was like, okay, I can do this job. I'm going to focus on other things. So I got a job as a chess coach for elementary school kids and in Paradise Valley. And that was going to be a great side job because it was $40 an hour. Plus, eventually I was going to be able to do tournaments and camps. And the owner of the company said a lot of the guys work part-time and make 6 figures. So I got the approval with my crown manager. And then I started doing chess coach. But after a few weeks, my fingerprint clearance card didn't get approved because I had the marijuana for sale misdemeanor on my record. Since then, I got it set aside. I still don't know if I'd be able to get that fingerprint clearance card for elementary schools or not based on that. So I started working more overtime at Crown. And then once I got hired on full time, I started getting bonuses each year. And I was still one of the least paid people at the company. And all my peers got promoted. 25 people got promoted over me. I did everything I could. I job shadowed multiple positions. I applied for multiple positions. I never even got an interview. But we would go on trips. We went to Monarch Beach in Dana Point, California. All paid for, all inclusive. I was able to golf on that golf course there on the beach. We went to the Broadmoor in Colorado. I was able to golf there, stay at that beautiful resort. So although I didn't think I was being treated fairly or being promoted based on my performance, it still was an amazing job, an amazing opportunity for me. And they trained me extremely well. And every time they tried to break me, they just made me get more professional. So I have nothing bad to say about them at all. But since I wasn't getting promoted, I started turning my focus elsewhere. My grandpa was getting older, so I started spending time with him, and he was an avid golfer. I wasn't big on golf at the time. I didn't get it. I couldn't even hit the ball. I tried playing my first time when I was 22, and I shot 50 over, and I couldn't even finish the round because I would lose all the balls. And he gave me his hand-me-down senior shaft clubs, and I first just started going with him to spend time with him. Looking back on it, me and him, we're born on the same day. But me and him were the only two righteous spirits in the family. Everyone else in the family is a straight up demon, straight up evil. So me and him bonded. I didn't know what it was. I thought it was just golf. But it was all his kids and grandkids were demons. And he was a great guy. And that's why I had this dream the other day, a few months ago, where Grandpa Bert's in the kitchen naked, just his butt showing. And he goes, "Oh, good, you found it." And then I see my Grandpa Frank, my mom's dad, on the other side of the kitchen. And I'm like, what, is this heaven? Did he say I found heaven? What is this? And then Aunt Alicia pulls up, my dad's sister, walks in the kitchen. And as soon as she walks in the kitchen, they both leave. And they're like, oh, shit, gotta go. And she's like, oh, yeah, I work for the Royals. And all this is just a dream. But I think back to the one time when I was in elementary school, she wanted me to make a scrapbook. And I made this scrapbook of all the stuff I liked, pictures of me, and then she just kept it. So that was kind of weird. And it was weird when I first got my N64, she got an N64 too and tried to play video games with me. And then later on, there was somebody who said there was someone doing altars on me. So Grandpa and I are golfing, and we're having a great time. And he actually got stronger from 80 to 81 because he started working out again. So I was like, man, if he could get stronger at that age, from 80 to 81, there's really no limit as to how much we can improve. And he taught me the fundamentals of golf, and then I started getting better, and it gave me the same thrill and rush as I used to get when I would play basketball tournaments or basketball games. And that's what I was searching for, something to get passionate about. And I found it. And so then I started going to all the different golf courses and just practicing at their short game facilities because it was free, and I could practice chipping and putting, sometimes pitching, at all these different courses around the valley because I couldn't really afford to play all the time. And we would play Bel Air Golf Course, and he would pay for it most of the time, and it was only, I don't know, 20 or so. He was a member there. And then I started taking it more serious, and I got driving range memberships, and I started finding these hot deals on Golf Now, and I would play really, really nice courses for $10, and I found a way to keep getting better. And then I changed the way I worked out, and now I started training specifically for golf and learning everything I can about golf. And the physics classes I took at ASU really helped me visualize the golf swing and the physics behind the golf ball and the trajectory and the spin rate and all that kind of stuff. So I'm working in Crown, and I have my girlfriend, but my focus is on golf. And this is after she already hit me in the face and left to another state. So I'm with her, but I don't really respect her anymore. But I'm hoping that one day she's going to come around and just be a better person. And now I'm assuming like the man of the house role, and she would go on trips with her girlfriends, right? And back then I was like, one, I don't want to go because I didn't think her friends were fun. Two, it didn't make sense for me to take the time off work and spend that money to do something that I didn't think was fun. So I just let her, and I just let her go wherever she wanted. And I didn't think she was cheating back then. Now I think she was cheating. She went on over 20 girl trips, right? Girl trips to all over the world, different countries, Colombia, all these places, Iceland. And I mean, at the end of the day, she would come back to me, and when she was with me, we would have fun. We would do the stuff that we both enjoyed. And I would watch the dogs when she would go all these places, all these trips without me, and I would just stay home and watch the dogs. But he gave me a sense of maturity, and he gave me a sense of righteousness. Like, I'm doing the right thing. If she's not, that's her issue. That's not my issue. That has nothing to do with me. I'm doing everything I can here. So then anyways, I switched houses because they kept raising the rent on me. Switched to a different house, and my rent went from $1,150 to $1,900. I rented for about 7 years. And an average day for me would be, I would wake up at about 7, take a shower, get ready, go to Salad and Go, get a breakfast bowl and a coffee, get into work at about 8:30, 8:45, and I would answer emails for a few hours, and then I would do my tasks. But in between doing these emails and tasks, I would go to the gym in our new office, and I would do, 5 to 10 minutes of a quick workout where I didn't sweat, but I would still get my blood pumping in and get some resistance in there. And I would do that every hour on the hour. So I'd go in there, not every hour, I'd go in there maybe 5 times throughout the day. So I'd get 5 little mini workouts in. Then towards the end of the day, a lot of the guys, and my manager included, would want to play ping pong against me. So I was still having fun, even though it was very rough conditions. You know, my ex was doing her thing. A lot of the people at my job were kind of, I didn't think they were treating me fairly. I still had a great life. And then it allowed me, once I got off work, so about 8:30 to 4:30, I could go to the driving range and hit a bucket of balls. Still, I was trying to become a professional golfer. So I would play on Saturday and Sunday. And then after I went to the driving range, I would go to LA Fitness and I would work out again. So I was working out all the time, practicing golf all the time. And that was my focus. My job and my ex weren't even my focus because what I was giving them, they couldn't give it back. So I had to dial back. I had to stop giving them so much of myself. They weren't matching it. And then they would take my energy and my ideas and go give it to other people without giving me an equal amount in return. So then my friend from 4th grade, I go meet up with him, and he's living in an apartment, and he says, hey, can I borrow $100? I don't know if I'm going to be able to make rent this month. And I was like, no, I'm not just going to hand you money. You could go get a job just like I am. But what we can do is we could start a business together. So together we came up with the United States Wealth Management Organization, USWMO. And I put together the framework, how the company is going to operate. I got us to trademark. They try to push back saying we couldn't trademark it, but I called the attorneys in Washington, D.C. and got it pushed through. So now I'm like talking to him, like, yeah, I'll get it through. Like, I'm Loophole Larry. Like, I'm the lawyer, I'm the accountant. director of operations. We roll out the options playbook. I taught him everything about the stock market and set all that up. But on sales and marketing, he did get a couple more sales than me, because he would use his mom and his wife's Facebook account to market. And we had characters that were in our videos that I would market with as well. So I was getting sales too. And we had Trader Alerts Facebook group, which has over 25,000 members. And we had videos, education videos. And I really broke it down because the people at Crown didn't understand what their 401k was doing, and a lot of the people, my family included, didn't understand about investing. My dad would direct invest in 2 companies, and they would charge him all these fees. So everyone I'm around didn't understand this kind of stuff. So at the time, I'm like, I'm good. I'm making almost 6 figures, and my ex, she's almost done with nursing school. So I'm thinking, okay, we could put our incomes together, and I'm good. I'm set. I finally figured out this financial stuff. I have this business and my main job. So now I just want to help people. Now I just want to help other people. Because I always had this feeling that I was going to get to this point where I had millions of dollars and someone was going to say, well, how did you help others? What did you do with your money? So I always wanted to be proactive, and I found the opportunity where I could help people, and we did USWMO, and we helped people learn about the stock market and motivated people and donated to charity and made thousands of dollars. The profit margin on the business was 99% profit margin. Now, towards the very end of this, he starts trying to ask for more than his half because he got a few more sales than me. And I'm like, are you joking me? I'm so offended. I taught you about the stock market. You didn't know anything. I taught you it all. And I set all of it up and did the options playbook every week and wrote the scripts to all the videos. We had, 50 to 100 videos. And him and his wife did do the voices for the videos in the beginning. To tell you the truth, it should have been more like 70-30. But I was doing it 50-50 because I wanted to help him out. And I thought it was going to be too subjective to try to say, oh, I did this, you did this, let's just go 50-50. So that was the deal. But then he gets greedy towards the end, and he tries to take more than his fair share, way more than his fair share. And around the same time he starts doing that, the stock market starts crashing. And some of our subscriptions get canceled. So at that point, it just made sense to shut that business down. But it was still a successful business. And what I learned is that once we started getting hot, Facebook started playing defense, and they stopped the way that we were doing our guerrilla marketing. And then they stopped showing instead of showing our posts to all the people in our group, they would only show it to 10%. And then a lot of companies came out copying our setups and everything. So I learned a lot about business by starting USWMO and managing USWMO and closing it out as well. Learned so much. So although everything I was doing was very difficult, I'm still viewing I'm on the right track here. I know more than I've ever have before anyone in my family. I'm trying to teach them. They're not listening. And now I know more about nutrition and working out, so I'm eating healthier than I ever have. I'm working out more than I ever have. And I'm playing more golf than I ever have. And the more and more golf I played, the more it tuned me in with hearing when people are talking, because that would distract you. I would go to the range and I would hit my 7-iron perfect, and then I would get on the tee and I'm like, why can't I do the same thing? And then I realized, oh, it's the people next to me. So then I was able to just get more meditative and sense more things thanks to golf. So everything is going great for me. I'm making more money each year, saving more money each year, learning more each year, getting healthier each year. I'm not doing any alcohol. I'm not doing any marijuana. I go on semen retention for 7 months. And I'm still living with my girlfriend. But I'm not attracted to her anymore, because I could just, the spirit on her, I could just sense she was lying. And she wasn't matching my work. I was putting in all this work and she was going out and drinking. And when we first met, she said she didn't do social media, she didn't drink, and that's why I liked her. And now she's doing social media and she's drinking. And then when I start my business, I'm thinking she's going to want to help on my business, but instead she says, oh, you start a business? Well, I'm going to start my own business. And then she went and started a business because I did, instead of working with me. And my opinion right now is that, well, this is what I want. I want a woman who's going to be in business with me. Because right now, women are more loyal to their employer than anybody else. So I think in order for families to really be families, they should have a family business and work together. And because I don't want my woman going and being with another man all day who's her boss all day. So that's what I would want. I would want the woman to be my employee or a partner in multiple businesses together, and then we have our family business. So I go for a swim at LA Fitness one day, and I drive back home, and I'm on my phone when I'm driving, and I'm not wearing my seatbelt. I'm looking at the different weights in grams of golf grips, something I didn't need to be doing. But anyways, I look down real quick, and then I look up, and there's a car in the middle of the road just stopped. And I slammed on the brakes, but I was going about 45, and it was stopped. So I slammed on the brakes, and I rear-ended it, and my head hits the windshield. And I just remember going like, oh, fuck. And I had to walk it off, and I'm kind of like wobbly and lightheaded. And I had to like fight to stand up and not pass out. But I didn't pass out. I didn't lose consciousness. And I look in the car, and it's some really, really old white lady. And there was like a retirement home right there. But the fact that she wasn't in the turning lane, she was just in the middle of the road, stopped, was very, very suspicious to me. Like, why would that happen? But again, I don't point the blame. I'm just like, okay, I shouldn't have been on my phone. So I'm like, my fault. That was my fault. I shouldn't have been on my phone. So the ambulance comes, and I'm like, no, I don't want to go. Don't take me there. I don't want to go to the hospital. And they're like, oh, you should really go. And my ex comes, oh, you should really, really go, really, really go. And they're like, we got to take your blood pressure. And I'm like, no, don't take my blood pressure. And eventually I forget if I let them, but they put the blood pressure on me, and it cuts off my circulation in my arm, and now I'm getting really, really lightheaded, and I might pass out. So I'm like, get it off. So I'm extra sensitive to all these things that they're doing, and they're not helping. And then they convinced me to go to the hospital, and I didn't even know at the time, but then they hit you with thousands of dollars in the ambulance bills and all this stuff with the hospital. They did brain scans. They did all this stuff, and it all came back. I didn't have anything, but then they wanted me to get a tetanus shot and all this stuff I didn't want to do, and they convinced me to do it. And after I did it, I felt scammed. And luckily, my insurance paid for it. most of it. But I was like, I'm never doing this again. This doesn't feel right. This didn't help me. But I got myself into it because I was on the phone. So if you give them an inch, they're gonna take a mile. So that's when I had to tighten up even more. So I'm crossing my T's, dotting my I's, really, really dialing in on everything. I have to be almost perfect at this point, because if I'm not, everyone's sneaking in and attacking me from different angles unless I'm almost perfect. So it just made me even that much more attentive to details and high performing. It just made me work that even much harder. So that's what this is from. And they put stitches in it. And when I was there, my dad's wife came to the hospital. And immediately, as soon as she got there, my head started hurting so bad, like she was trying to finish me off. And I never liked her, trusted her from the beginning. She was a bad influence on my dad. So I'll make it through that. Then COVID comes around. And I do my research on it. And I come to the conclusion that it's either just a common cold or it's not even a real thing at all. And everyone at this time is saying you have to get vaccinated and you have to wear masks. And I don't agree with all of it. I'm pushing back as hard as I can. And then they're trying to make you cover your nose with the mask. I'm pushing back as hard as I can everywhere I go. And people are attacking me because I'm not covering my nose with the mask. And, oh, you're anti-vax. You're anti-vax. Haha, I bet you're anti-vax. Haha, idiot. And I stood my ground. And then I post on Facebook how there's aluminum in the vaccines and how they have negative side effects and how a lot of these companies make a lot of money off of them. And right after I posted that, I forget how many weeks later it was, but on Juneteenth, 2020, I get hit with an EMP attack. I'm in my room in my old house in Gilbert, upstairs, and I just start feeling these like you're getting tased, but in the air, and you're just, and then my head is like, just like lightheaded, and it's like beeping in my head, and I'm like, oh my God, like I'm gonna pass out, and I had to like fight so hard to not pass out, and I remember just looking in the mirror. I don't know why I said it, but I said unconditional love immunity. I have unconditional love for everyone, even though they're attacking me right now. And I had got to this point philosophically after watching every Alan Watts video and every science video I could find on YouTube and studying people. And that was my philosophy, is that even though these people are attacking me, I'm still going to show them love. And I'm going to convert their negative energy that they're throwing at me to positive energy. And I'm not going to retaliate unless I have to. If it's self-defense, then we're going to take them out. So that was my mindset. And then right after I almost pass out with the EMP attack, there's a big loud explosion in the air. And then it like stops. And then I go to my window, and now there's 2 cop cars that just pull up. And 2 cop cars pull up outside my house. And they're just staring at me for, I don't know, 30 minutes. And then they drive away eventually. Then Crown shifts us from working in the office to working at home. So now I'm 100% remote, working from home with my same job. They actually demoted me. So now instead of doing all the structural stuff I was doing, now I'm just doing data. Just the simplest, almost like button pushing. Which when I first started there, I loved working on the complex projects, and I was learning everything. But then towards the end, it was just a job, and it was a dead end job. They obviously weren't going to promote me no matter what I did. So I was like, whatever. Like, I want to apply for other jobs and see what else is out there, but I'm just going to keep this job for as long as I can. But they now gave us the ultimatum. You have to get the jab to stay working at Crown. And I was like, wow, like that, I didn't think they were going to do that. You know, I didn't think they were part of the government, really. Because at first it was only government employees, so we didn't have to. But now all of a sudden we have to. Okay. So I said, I'm not going to do it. And I got a religious exemption. And my religion at the time was pagan. I worship nature. I believe God is the sun. And that we shouldn't put any baby fetuses or unnecessary chemicals in our body. And especially because this was something different, right? This wasn't even a vaccine. This was a DNA, mRNA changing experimental genetic modifier substance. So then I post on Facebook a video about geoengineering, chemtrails, how they're spraying aluminum in the sky, and again everyone's like, oh, you're just a conspiracy theorist, you're crazy, blah blah blah. I held my ground. I don't want to say I knew I was right, because that kind of sounds arrogant, and I wasn't right about everything, but there were so many instances where I told someone something and they just didn't believe me, and they believed some old guy in a white coat with gray hair. And I'm like, I'm done. Like, I posted that video on Facebook and they flagged it for misinformation. So at this point, I'm like, I'm trying to warn people. I'm trying to help people. I'm trying to teach people. They're not listening. My ex at the time, I told her, don't get the jab. She goes, oh, you don't know what you're talking about. I'm in nursing school. I know stuff. And she actually volunteered to inject people with the jab, thinking she was helping them. And that's really when everything really shifted. There was that big split. Was right around when people started getting that jab. Then, right after that EMP attack, I swear there was just people walking up and down the sidewalk in Gilbert like zombies. Like right after they got the jab, they turned up the frequency in the cell phone towers, and they were like, people, like they were just zombies for a little. But then, okay, that stopped. Then, as I'm driving one day, there's this giant dust storm. And I have to stop my car because it was so windy and dusty I couldn't drive on the road. And then there's this big cloud, and there's like a face in it. And it's like a spirit in the dust, and it just like breezes past me. So that was wild. And then the tree in my front yard just falls over for no reason. One day, almost hits the house. So there's all these little things just adding up. But at this time, it's still just, I'm doing sanity checks the whole time. I'm like, okay, all this stuff is very coincidental. It all doesn't seem right, but I don't have any proof. So I'm not going to come out here and, start making these accusations. I'm just saying, this is what I think. I don't want to get the jab. I don't believe in this. I don't believe in this, blah, blah, blah. And I stood 10 toes down. And I say I stood 56 phalanges down now because it got so hard that I was on my hands and feet at one point crawling. And my mindset was like, I'm going to sprint. And if I can't sprint, I'm going to run. And if I can't run, I'm going to jog. If I can't jog, I'm going to walk. And if I can't walk, I'm going to crawl. My dad gets the jab, and his wife calls me and says he had a heart attack because he got it. And at the time, my AC had went out, so I take my husky Oreo to a hotel, and I'm in the hotel with her when she calls me, and I'm actually making the healthy beat. At this time, I'm like, well, if they're going to hit me with these EMP attacks, if I'm going to get lightheaded or whatever's happening. Oh, they were saying the UK, the UN nations might try to evade us. So I'm like, okay, if shit's hitting the fan, whatever's going to happen, I'm going to put out what I want to put out and leave behind. So I put out 15 songs. The first song I put out was Healthy. And the first line in Healthy is, from the tap, TDS, we removing. Adding lemon or lime, now that's a solution. So from the tap, tap water. TDS, we removing. Total dissolved solids. Magnesium and calcium and all the other stuff in the water that I learned about at ASU. I got a zero water filter, and the TDS in the tap water was like 500, and it has a lot of stuff you're not really supposed to drink that gets into the water system. So when you take it out and it goes from 500 to 0, now you have distilled water. Well, you're also not supposed to drink distilled water because it doesn't have any minerals in it, and it can suck the minerals out of your body, get rid of them in your urine. So the solution was add lemon or lime because those have vitamins and minerals in them and metals, copper, and it brings the TDS to around 70. So I'm starting off hard with like esoteric knowledge, like amazing facts that can really help people become healthy, and it helped me become healthier. And lemon and lime have electrolytes. So that song was, and I named all the healthy foods that I started eating, and I posted it out there. So for the people that I went to school with, who were my friends on Facebook, or for anyone who saw my YouTube, that was me like really, really trying my best to help and give back and teach people what I had learned. And then my next song was called One Love. And that was how we're all one. Hearts keep beating while we resting unconscious. We are one love, the collective subconscious. And then my third song was Like Alan Watts. And I sampled Alan Watts, and I got real scientific on it. Then my next song was Trap Music. Then my fifth song after that was World War III, is the Info War. Then my sixth song after that was Lightspeed. Then Abundance and Gratitude. So Excited. We Just Getting Started. And Glory Be to God. And it was like 15 songs. And then I dropped 666 bars. Timeless. Then I dropped 666 bars. And this was the first one where I didn't make the beat. All the other ones I made my own beat. 666 bars, I used the beats that were the songs that I grew up listening to that no one else really spoke of. I never heard them on the radio. So these, to me, were these amazing songs with these amazing instrumentals that nobody really was talking about. So I was like, let me bring this back to the spotlight, the stuff that I feel like people overlooked. I was like, why are these people, why is the mainstream not talking about how great these songs were or these instrumentals were? So I'm like, let's take it back. And I put that DJ effect in the beginning. So now I'm like tapping into nostalgia. And I listened to those songs and those beats so much that it was so easy to rap over them because I love those instrumentals, the ones that I picked. And the song was over 30 minutes. And it only took me like 5 different recordings to reach the 30 minutes. And it was all like one take. I had to punch in a few things here and there. But it was crazy. And I'm just in a little house in Gilbert, so my neighbors could probably hear me while I'm doing it. And just by me activating my throat chakra, I started changing everything around me by what I was saying before I even put it out. And then I start feeling people's energies closing in on me. And when I made that music, I was tapping into the creative cloud spaces that other artists tap into. So that's why they were kind of like get out of my creative space, like stay in your own creative space. So I'm just swerving over everything, using everything that was inspiration to me. And it wasn't really received great in the beginning when I did it. I was just trying to help everyone, get my information out there, bring to the spotlight that things that I thought people overlooked. But I think they were kind of viewing it as like a threat, or I was coming at them. So after I make those songs, there's about 5 artists that end up coming to my house. And they all moved like professionals. They all had their windows tinted. And each one of them had something unique about them, that we had some interaction, some energetic interaction, and each one had something like just so crazy that I experienced. And if those guys want to be in the movie, it's going to do numbers. They can make millions because they're big names. They all have millions of subscribers on YouTube. So when it's time to make the movie, maybe I'll have someone reach out to their management, or maybe they'll reach out to me. If they don't want to be in the movie, that's fine. I get it. I still have to tell my story. So I'm going to have to just put someone in there who kind of resembles something similar to them, change the name, and then they're probably not going to get they won't get any money off of it. So I hope that at least one of them or all of them would want to be in the movie, and then they could kind of showcase their side of it, because I have no idea what was going on their side. All I know is what happened to me, what I saw, what cars, what vehicles, helicopters came, and the crazy like spirits I picked up from them and all that kind of stuff. And that's like the highlight of the movie as well. So like I said, it could do big numbers. And I'm still fans of all those guys. It was definitely some hostile energy coming towards me. But, after it dissipated, I don't know. I don't trust any of them, but I still think it would be great if they wanted to be in the movie, because they're movie stars, they're stars, and then they could post it on their platforms, and the movie's gonna do numbers. The movie's gonna be huge if they hop on board. But if not, I get it. I understand. So after those guys came, then I'm walking my dog at Riparian Preserve in Chandler, and there's a YouTube prankster in his Mercedes Sprinter van with his girlfriend, the shotgun there, pulled up right next to me and just staring at me. And then I kind of look over at him, and he's like, man, he kind of like looks away and gets startled. So then I'm at my job, and I'm staring at the screen one day, and I just start like getting lightheaded, and I had to stare at a certain spot of the ground or else I was going to pass out. I felt like I was just going to go black and pass out. So I started getting cold and shivering, and I had to stare at this spot on the ground for like 2 hours. And then I finally am able to like fight it off. And I couldn't focus on work at all. And I have to walk outside, and then I get some sunlight and I feel a little bit better. So there's just so many things happening. And then I researched crystals and copper and everything, and I have all these different crystals, and then I buy a wand made out of Hollywood, a real wand. And there was this lizard in my backyard, and he kept getting on my wall, and he kept like chest bumping at me. He kept doing like push-ups like this to me. I was like, what's your problem? Like, I had no problem with the lizard, and he kept doing that. And same time he's doing this, I'm getting all these like sonic impulses in my head. And so I get a BB gun and I shoot the lizard, and I don't think much of it. And then that night I try to go to bed, I feel that lizard die. And then there's like this Grim Reaper black and white spirit that's now like trying to possess my face. And all I can see in my head now is this black and white Grim Reaper looking thing. So I had to like fight that thing off. And then after those guys came to my house, now that I picked up on stuff that they had. And now I sense a couple of these guys having this like black and white, lifeless kind of vampiric spirit in them. And I kind of like rebuke it and get it out of them. And then it goes from one guy to another guy. And then it's trying to come at me as well. And I'm like, I don't know where to put the thing. But I basically am able to use my wand, and I basically put it like at the Vatican, underneath the Vatican. And then I remember taking my wand, because everything is so charged at this point. There's all these charges. Everything is so sensitive. And I take my wand and I like cast it up in the sky. And then I'm like, oh, I got rid of it. Like, what? And then I go outside and I look, and Saturn now is in the sky. Biggest I've ever seen, a big white ball. And I look up the Google Sky Maps app, and it's Saturn. And I'm like, I just took this spirit and I cast it back to Saturn. So now I'm like actually dealing with spirits, dealing with the wand, Hollywood. It's actually real Hollywood. And all this stuff is happening. And helicopters are flying over my house with orange lights. And is that everything? As far as, I don't want to say a crown, piece of golf. I think that is. So the orange lights. So now I'm still working, and it's hard to sleep because I'm getting all these impulses, and I'm tapped in all these things. And at this point, I do get like overwhelming information, and I thought that was real. And so now is the point where it's like all that was real, but now I'm like seeing visions of stuff. And I texted this guy something weird, and up until that point I didn't really respect that many people's opinion, and people would be like, oh, you're weird. And I was just like, you're just saying that because you don't have the knowledge that I have. But this guy I actually really respected, and I knew he had the knowledge. So this guy basically was like, hey, like, that's weird. Like, don't be weird. And once this guy told me that, I was like, damn, like, if this guy thinks I'm weird, I actually respect his opinion. I got weird. And then I realized, like, my ex was making me weird. That was our thing, is like we would just be weird together to be silly, and then we would try to out-weird each other. So just by living with her for so long, I picked up on her weirdness, and then I started to get weird, and I thought it was okay just to randomly, like, say weird stuff to people for my own entertainment in the beginning. But then I started thinking everything I thought was real. And then I was like, well, maybe it's real in a parallel universe that just didn't manifest here in this universe. So there's a lot of crazy, wild stuff that happened that is real. But then there's a few thoughts that I would say aren't real. I'm able to decipher which ones are and which ones aren't. So anyways, I buy a crystal ball, and off Etsy, and the lady I buy it from gives me all these other gifts. She gives me another crystal ball. She says it's travel size. Then she gives me what turned out to be, I think, a hidden camera. I think she gave me this shungite Merkaba there was a hidden camera in it. And then she gave me a crystal ball holder that was shungite as well. So anyways, at this point, I have all these people coming to my house, getting hit with all type of sonic attacks. Everyone close to me got jabbed. My dad's like, hey, I'm going to be in town, because he moved to Colorado for work. So he's going to be like, hey, I'm going to go in town. Let's meet at Pita Jungle. Me, him, and his wife, and my ex. And we get there, and I'm wearing my copper chain, my copper bracelet, and I'm eating this lentil salad that has garlic in it. And they're all talking, I'm just listening, and then my dad's wife telling me how they drank so much last night with the executives at their company in Scottsdale. And that moment right there was really when all I said was, I started basically telling everyone, like, everything is energy. Everything boils down to energy. And she was like, I believe that. I believe what you're saying. And they're all kind of just like dismissing what I'm saying. Like, I'm trying to actually teach them real stuff. And they're all kind of just dismissing it like whatever you say. Like, but I basically just said, it's not a belief. It's science. It's real. And she flips out. You're an asshole. Like, I can't do this. And I was so calm. I didn't even do anything. And it's like her spirit couldn't handle being there with me. And she had to go sit in the car. And I was this calm. I just said a few things. And I was just so calm. And they couldn't just handle me just being calm. And my dad's like, you're an asshole. Nice knowing you. All this stuff. And I'm just like, you know what? It's okay. I still love you. It's okay. And they couldn't fathom the fact that they're cussing me out in a public restaurant. I'm just like, you know what? It's okay. I still love you. It's okay. I'm here for you. And they're just super stressed out. And as I'm walking out of the restaurant, there's this other couple that this guy's like quoting the Bible, and he's talking about unconditional love. And I'm like, oh, like, hey, I heard him say that. So I'm like, oh, hey, how's it going? I'm Paul. Nice to meet you. And then we introduce each other and we shake hands, and we just have a super nice, happy conversation with a stranger in front of my dad, his wife, and my ex, who just cussed me out. So it's like those three people just couldn't stand me. And then I immediately walk 10 feet over, and I immediately am just so kind and loving with these strangers. And it was just like, okay, those spirits are demons. These spirits are good. So at that point, it was clear people aren't people, we're spirits. And then there's spirits that are against me and there's spirits that are for me. So that's when I really had to like start isolating myself. And then it was clear as day. As soon as someone comes around, I know automatically if their spirit is for me or against me. And that was really the start of it, was right after COVID and these instances happening. So then I'm trying to wake people up and have them not get the jab. So, and there's this YouTuber who put me on a sun gazing. So he gets credit for that. And he was basically making content about start staring at the sun. So I started getting out in the sun more, sun gazing, grounding my feet more barefoot, and I start getting even more and more and more information, and now I just kind of know what to do. And one of these things I was called to do was go to downtown Phoenix in my car, and just I started yelling at people as loud as I could, wake up, wake up. And I'm trying to just like do as much as I can to like save people and like not like tell them not get the jab, and I'm posting all this content, I'm making all this music, I'm doing everything I can with the reach that I had to try to give everyone like my knowledge. But it's like some people just weren't meant to believe me. I don't know. And even to this day, a lot of people still aren't going to believe the stuff that I say. But that's their problem. That's not my problem. I'm doing everything I can. That's why I'm confident and I sleep fine at night, because I've literally done everything I can do with what I've had at the given moment. So then there's other people that come to the gym I'm at, and they scratch me. Then there's other guys in white SUVs that drive by my house, and I feel the static. So each one of these interactions, it's difficult, but it charges me up. Once we get past the interaction, I'm even stronger because I'm not doing anything wrong. I'm here trying to help people, and people are attacking me. So I got all the leverage. So then I'm called to go to Joshua Tree. And I drive to Joshua Tree with my dog. Oh, and when one of the people came to my house, my dog hops on me to like protect me from the spirit. And that's how I knew it was coming one time. So anyways, I take one of my dogs, the other dog stays home, and we go to Joshua Tree. And I didn't know where I was going. I was just, it was just saying head west. I head west, and then I see the Joshua Tree sign, and I stop there. And then once I get there, I see like a giant lizard. It's like Godzilla at the Grand Canyon, guarding like a cave, and he's emitting like the supersonic pulses from there. And then this is the part where it was just in my head, which could or could not be true in a parallel universe. But now I'm able, at the time I didn't know which part was real, which part was in my head. Now I can see, okay, all that stuff was real. There's real life proof. But then this stuff is kind of just visualizations that didn't manifest. But as I'm undergoing all this for the first time, I have no one to talk to. I don't know how to navigate all this stuff. So it's just starting to get good too. So I play one of my songs at Joshua Tree, and I'm feeling it stirring up the pot. And even in Sedona, I went to Sedona with two of my friends, and they tried to get me to take some type of mushroom thing. And I was like, no, I'm good where I'm at. I'm not taking that. And then one of my friends was like hallucinating, and he said he saw faces in the rocks in Sedona's. And then we went to this house in Sedona, and the guy was like, keep mixing it up out there. Keep mixing it up out there. And then I look up in the sky, and I see some like spirit-looking thing in the sky. And then when these people came to my houses, there were spirits in the skies and in the clouds. All this is going to look great on visuals in the movie. So I don't want to spoil the movie by giving away too much of the visuals. But it was real. It was real. So anyways, I'm in Joshua Tree now, and then there's this white truck that pulls up behind me. And I'm like, I don't like this guy following me. It doesn't feel right. I can sense everyone's energy now. And so I stop. I let him pull over. And then he pulls over me. I take out my wand. And I'm like, if this is a lizard, I'm going to try to chop his tail off. So I go like this with my wand. And he immediately slams on his brakes and pulls off on the side of the road. So I'm like, did I just chop this lizard's tail off? So now I'm thinking I'm fighting reptilians. So I finally make it out of Joshua Tree after almost running out of gas because I couldn't find my way back and I didn't have cell phone service. I passed by all these tanks on the side of the road, and I go to a gas station. I fill up, and I get back on the I-10 to come back. And one of my red check engine lights just starts blinking in my dashboard. And my car only had like 65,000 miles on it. I was like, this shouldn't be happening. Like, everything should be good. I've never seen this come on before. Just randomly, after all this is happening, that light starts flashing in my car. And then, now the sun's setting. It's almost night, and it's a sunset. But the sun behind me isn't the normal sun. It's like a fake sun. And I feel, not a good spirit with it. And it's reflecting off of this 18-wheeler. And it's like hurting my eyes. And then these lights are reflecting off of the different vehicles at me. And my dog is in the back seat, hopping from side to side, doing what she was doing, protecting me. Like when that person came to my house and she protected me against that spirit, she's doing the same thing now in the back seat of my car. And remember, this is the dog that the guy at Arizona Mills says, this one's special. So I'm like, she's not even a dog. She's like a sphinx. So I'm like, okay, I made it out of there. I got gas. Hopefully my car holds up. Let's just make it home. Then as the sun starts going down, now all the brake lights in every vehicle are like extending out of their little glass containers. So now it's like full-on Star Wars lightsaber battles against all these different lights. And my mindset back then was it's like the natural light, the sun, versus artificial lights. There was an article saying China had put out the fake sun. And anyways, I have to start driving like this now to block the lights that are trying to come in and hit me. I have on my sunglasses too. And I'm like squinting because this light back then, it's almost like it's like taking over. It's like trying to like take over or whatever. Then there's like a Hooters sign on the freeway that has an owl on it, that its eyes are kind of like same thing. Like everything is just so sensitive and trying to like get into my vessel. And so now I'm driving a little faster, and there's all these cars I have to go around, and it's almost like all these lights are trying to like suck me back into Joshua Tree. So I'm like, let's get the heck out of here. So I start driving faster and faster, going on the side of the freeway, passing people, kind of like Fast and Furious almost. And now my odometer didn't change for the longest time. And now I feel like the Phoenix flying. I'm like, am I even driving at this point, or am I flying? And then I pick up two guys, kind of like their spirits kind of like tap in with me. And now I'm driving, and I'm just like, okay, let's just make it home, and hopefully everything will be all good. So as I approach Phoenix, everything just looks different, feels different than it normally does. And then I see red and blue lights on the other side of the freeway, and I'm like, oh gosh, those are hideous. Those are really like destroying my corneas right now. Like I can't. So now I'm like driving like with like the tiniest little like sliver of like a view as I'm like steering. I'm like this with my sunglasses on now. I'm like this, and it's like I always have to like reposition it, and it's like a 4-hour drive, 3-hour, 4-hour, I forget. So my shoulders are numb and sore from holding it up like this the whole time. And then I see a helicopter in the sky with its white lights. And then there's a police car with its red and blue lights that gets behind me now. So now, after all this just happens, after all these attacks, all these things, now I have a cop chasing me. I was sensing everything back then. I'm like, this doesn't feel like a normal cop. This feels like part of like, just like a bad spirit behind me. And like they were sent by someone who also sent all the hitmen who tried to kill me. So I'm like, this doesn't feel right. I'm not stopping. So now I have to fight off the red and blue sirens behind me like this, and I'm driving, and the visuals are just crazy. I want to throw these visuals in the movie because the visuals in my head back then are just crazy. So anyways, I don't know, it was like 25 miles or something, and then I get to the 202 in Power, and I'm about to get off, and as I get off the on-ramp, they hit my car with one of those grappler things that like pops one of my back tires. And it's a good thing they did because I was about to run the red lights until I got home. I was that like feared for my safety because of everything that was like coming at me at the point. I was like, I just want to make it home. Maybe if I pull in the garage, like all this will just like go away. Because they had helicopters with orange lights right before that, and they were just throwing all these lights at me. So I don't make it home. I get on the on-ramp, and then boom, right when my car, they stop my car, and they grapple it, boom, like a big jerk, and that I kind of like snapped back into, not reality, but I snapped into like a different mode. Like, oh, this isn't just lights. This is also now like physical reality too. So they have a megaphone and they say, get out of the vehicle, put your hands up. So I get out of the vehicle, I put my arms out the window, and then I open the door, put my hands up like this, and then boom, they shoot me in the leg. And later they said it was a rubber bullet, but I don't know what it was. But they shoot me with a freaking, I guess, a rifle rubber bullet in the leg. And I have so much adrenaline going at the time, I don't even flinch. It hurts, but I'm like, did they just fucking shoot me? And then I don't even move. And then they run up and they handcuff me like this. And then as soon as I'm handcuffed, the guy picks me up and slams me on my head and cuts this right here. And that's why I have this scar right here with these stitches. So I'm like, are you fucking serious? Like, now I'm like, have this open. And then they start kicking me when I'm on the ground. I wasn't resisting at all, minus the driving. But, so it's like, whatever. But then they throw me in the back of the SUV police car. I still have my glasses on. I'm not opening my eyes because I don't want to get absorbed by this artificial light or whatever's going through my mind back at the time, right? Whether that was real or not, definitely part of it was real, right? So they put me in the back of the SUV cop car. I'm handcuffed. I didn't eat. So I'm malnourished. I didn't drink water. I'm malnourished, and they started playing the most demonic, low vibe song I've ever heard from a famous rapper. And it just sounds like he's like wearing a dress in a bathtub, like worshiping Satan, just like the lowest vibe. And I feel it dragging me down. And I'm like, oh my God, they're gonna do all this stuff. They're gonna put a chip in where they just cut me open and all this type of stuff. And the only thing I could think of to do to counter it was to say, I love you, you love me. We're a happy family with a great big hug and a kiss from me to you. Won't you say I love you too? And I counter their demonic shit with Barney. And they like get pissed, and it like turns off the demon spirits that were like possessing them. And then they like pull me out of the car, and they're like, sit down. They're like, tell us what's going on. They're like, and I'm like, this is bigger than me. This is like a cosmic thing. It's gonna keep going on and on. Like, we got to put an end to it now. We're all one, like cosmically. And then they start to like break character a little bit. They're like, damn it, how does he know this stuff? And then they're saying how they're gonna take me to the hospital because I have an open cut. Or at first they're saying they're going to take me to jail, and I'm just like, whatever. And then they're like, well, we're going to take you to the hospital. And I'm like, no, I don't want to go to the hospital. I'm not doing that again. I'm not getting in all this medical bills and all this. They're going to like do all this stuff. I'm like, just take me to jail then. I'd rather go to jail than the hospital. And they but I'm like, my dog's in the car, and they're basically saying they're going to like give my dog away. And I'm like, no, you're fucking not. You're going to take my dog back to my house. I don't care what you do to me, but you're going to take my dog back to that house. And then they end up driving me to Mercy Gilbert. The hospital's name is called Mercy.